She said, "If you don't like it, then leave." I replied, "Fine, I will." Then I packed my bags, cut off her access to my money, moved out quietly, and watched her girls' trip fall apart, while I moved on and found a new girlfriend. She didn't even look up from her phone when she said it. "If you don't like it, then leave." We were standing in the kitchen, the overhead light buzzing like it always did. Her suitcase was already half open on the counter because she was packing for a girls' trip. 4 nights. Beach, cocktails, healing energy, the usual captions. I remember thinking how practiced her tone sounded, like she'd said those words before and knew exactly how they were supposed to land. I'm Jake, 31M. She's Alyssa, 29F. We've been together just over 3 years, living together for 1. This wasn't our first fight, but it was the first time she'd said that out loud. Normally, when she pulled that line, I'd back down. I'd apologize for being too sensitive, for making a big deal out of nothing, for daring to ask why she'd put a $3,200 resort on my credit card without asking. This time, though, something in me just stopped. I looked at her and said, "Fine, I will." She laughed. A short, dismissive sound, like I'd just told a bad joke. She shook her head and went back to scrolling. That was the moment. Not dramatic, not loud, just clear. She thought it was a bluff. For context, I cover most of our expenses. Rent comes out of my account. Utilities, groceries, streaming, her phone bill, mine. She makes money, but it's her money. Mine was ours. That was the system she'd slowly trained me into accepting. Every time I brought it up, she called me controlling. Every time I asked for a budget, she rolled her eyes and said I was acting like her dad. So when she went to bed that night, already talking about outfits and airport selfies, I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I didn't explain. I opened my laptop. By midnight, I'd changed passwords, removed her access to my accounts, and frozen the card she'd booked half the trip on. By 2 a.m., I had a short-term lease lined up across town. No drama. No announcement. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't be weird while I'm gone." I just nodded. She still thought she'd won. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my friends. Not my sister. Not even my coworker who sits 5 feet from me and knows way too much about my life. There was something grounding about moving in silence. Alyssa had always controlled the narrative. I wanted, for once, to control the timing. The day after she left for her girls' trip, I worked from home and watched the apartment empty itself of meaning. Her stuff was everywhere, skincare bottles lining the bathroom sink, throw pillows she insisted we needed, clothes draped over chairs like she planned to come back and finish getting dressed later. I packed only what was mine. Clothes, laptop, documents. I left the rest untouched. It felt cleaner that way. By noon, the landlord had confirmed the transfer. By 3, I'd paid the deposit on my new place. By 6, I was gone. I left the keys on the counter. No note. I'd learned that explanations just gave her something to argue with. That night, my phone buzzed. Alyssa, posting stories. Airport margaritas. Much needed reset. I watched without reacting. An hour later, a Venmo request came through. $420. Caption: Tulum vibes aren't cheap, LOL. I declined it. 10 minutes after that, the text started. "Did you seriously turn off the card? Jake, this is not funny. Answer me." I didn't. Instead, I sat on the floor of my new, mostly empty apartment eating takeout straight from the container, listening to the quiet. No buzzing lights. No passive-aggressive sighs. No walking on eggshells because she'd had a bad day and needed someone to blame. Around midnight, she called. I let it ring out. The next morning, I woke up to missed calls, unread messages, and a group chat screenshot forwarded from one of her friends. Apparently, the hotel was having issues with payment. Apparently, Alyssa was embarrassed. Apparently, this was somehow my fault. What got me wasn't the anger. It was the assumption. She still thought I'd fix it. By day 2 of the trip, her tone changed. The angry messages slowed and got replaced with panic dressed up as sarcasm. "So you're really doing this? Hope you're enjoying your little power trip." Then, inevitably, the guilt. "I don't know why you're punishing me." That one almost made me laugh. Almost. I didn't respond. I muted her thread and went about my day like I hadn't just detonated my own relationship. Work was easier than I expected. I'd always thought heartbreak would make everything harder, but there was a strange clarity to it. No background anxiety about what mood she'd be in when I got home. No mid-meeting texts asking why I hadn't liked her Instagram post yet. I finished tasks early. Took a walk on my lunch break. Noticed the weather for the first time in months. That afternoon, Her girls' trip officially unraveled. One of her friends messaged me directly. We'd never talked one-on-one before. Hey, Alyssa's freaking out. Do you know what's going on with the hotel? I stared at the screen for a long second, then replied with the truth. We broke up. Typing it made it real. Apparently, no one on that trip had budgeted for anything. Alyssa had fronted the bookings on our card, promising to sort it out later. Without access to my money, everything stalled. No spa day. No boat excursion. One girl had to cover dinner and was pissed about it. Another started making passive-aggressive jokes about financial planning. Alyssa posted less after that. The glossy stories stopped. By the third night, there were none at all. That's when she finally sent the message that mattered. Can we talk when I get back? I think we both said things we didn't mean. I stared at it for a while. I thought about all the times I'd swallowed my words to keep the peace. All the times she'd told me I was lucky to have her. All the times I'd stayed quiet because leaving felt harder than staying. I typed back one sentence. There's nothing left to talk about. I blocked her number after that. Not out of spite. Out of self-respect. The funny thing is, I didn't feel victorious. I felt done. And for the first time, that felt enough. She landed 3 days later. I know because my sister texted me a screenshot from Instagram before I'd even finished my coffee. Alyssa, standing in baggage claim, sunglasses on indoors, captioned, home. Exhausted. Processing. Comments full of hearts, and you okay, babe? Like nothing had happened. An hour after that, she showed up at the apartment. My old apartment. I wasn't there, obviously. But the building has one of those front desk concierges who recognizes everyone. According to him, he emailed me later because I'd already updated my emergency contact. She was confused. Then annoyed. Then loud. She kept saying, he lives here. Like repeating it would make it true again. When she finally got into the unit, the reality hit her all at once. Half the closet empty. My desk gone. The extra monitor missing. No laptop charger on the couch. No shoes by the door except hers. Just space. That's when my phone lit up again. Unknown number. I didn't answer, but the voicemail came through anyway. Her voice was different. Not sharp. Not sarcastic. Small. Jake, this isn't funny anymore. I don't know what you think you're proving, but you're taking this too far. We can talk like adults. You don't just disappear. I listened once, then deleted it. By evening, she'd figured out what mattered most. Not me, my money. She emailed. Subject line, we need to be practical. She wanted access, temporarily, just until she got back on her feet. Rent was due. Her credit card was maxed. The trip had cost more than she expected. She reminded me, very helpfully, that I made more than her and that I always said we were a team. I replied with one sentence. Teams don't give ultimatums. That was it. I blocked the email too. The next weekend, I went on a date. Nothing serious. Coffee, conversation, no history. I didn't talk about Alyssa. Didn't need to. It felt like stretching a muscle I'd forgotten I had. Meanwhile, Alyssa was telling anyone who'd listened that I'd abandoned her. That I'd had some kind of breakdown. That she'd dodged a bullet. Maybe she was right. But for the first time, I wasn't bleeding anymore. The first time I saw her after everything, it was accidental. I was at the grocery store near my new place, standing in the cereal aisle debating between being healthy and being honest, when I heard my name said the way she used to say it when she wanted something. Soft. Careful. Performative. Jake. I turned before I could stop myself. Alyssa looked smaller. Not physically, just energetically. No makeup. Hair pulled into a messy bun she used to call her don't perceive me look. She was holding a basket with exactly 3 things in it. Instant noodles. Energy drinks. A frozen pizza. She smiled like we were running into each other after a normal day. Oh my God, she said, stepping closer. I've been trying to reach you. I know, I said. One word. Neutral. Her smile faltered for half a second. Can we talk? I looked at my card. Then at her. There's nothing to talk about. That's when the edge came back. So that's it, she snapped. You just cut me off like I never mattered? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't sigh. I just said, you told me to leave. She scoffed. You know I didn't mean it like that. I did, I replied. People were starting to notice. An older woman pretending very hard to read a cereal box nearby. Alyssa crossed her arms, defensive now. You didn't have to humiliate me. You know how that trip ended. Everyone thinks I'm irresponsible. I met her eyes. You are. That landed. Hard. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again with a different tactic. I'm struggling, Jake. I thought you loved me. I did, I said. Past tense. For a moment, she looked genuinely lost, like she was seeing the consequences of her own words for the first time. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down, annoyed, and the mask slipped back on. Whatever, she muttered. I'll be fine. I always am. I nodded. Good. I walked away before she could say anything else. That night, I went on another date. Different woman. Dinner this time. Easy conversation. No tension. No testing boundaries, just to see how much I'd bend. When I got home, there was a notification waiting. Alyssa had posted a long story about outgrowing people and knowing your worth. I muted her for good. She'd told me to leave. I finally listened. 2 weeks after the grocery store run-in, the silence around Alyssa got louder. No texts. No emails. No fake, just checking in messages from her friends. At first, I thought she'd finally accepted it. That she'd spun her version of the story enough times to convince herself she was fine and moved on. Then I got a notification from my bank. Someone had tried to log into my account. Wrong password. 3 attempts. Location flagged from her neighborhood. That was the thing about Alyssa. She never handled losing control well. When charm didn't work and anger failed, she defaulted to entitlement. In her mind, what was mine had always been hers. I'd just revoked the permission she assumed was permanent. Later that day, my sister called me. She showed up at Mom and Dad's, she said without preamble. Apparently, Alyssa had driven over unannounced, tears ready, story rehearsed. She told them she was worried about me, that I'd changed, that I was shutting everyone out, and she didn't know why. She even suggested I might be spiraling. My mom asked one question. Did you tell him to leave? According to my sister, Alyssa froze. Just for a second. Long enough. My dad thanked her for her concern and walked her to the door. When my sister finished recounting it, she added, "Proud of you, by the way." That night, I realized something important. Alyssa didn't miss me. She missed the stability, the lifestyle, the safety net she'd confused for love. Around the same time, things with the woman I'd been seeing, Emily, started to feel real. Not intense, not rushed, just calm. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. She paid for dinner without making a show of it. When I said I needed a night to myself, she said, "Okay," and meant it. No tests. No ultimatums. Meanwhile, Alyssa was posting again. Less confident this time. Quotes about betrayal. About men who can't handle strong women. The likes were thinner. The comments repetitive. She was still performing. I was finally living. And for the first time since she'd said if you don't like it, then leave, I understood the full weight of what she'd handed me. An exit. I was just smart enough to take it. Alyssa cracked about a week later. Not publicly. Privately. Sloppily. She emailed me from a new address. One of those half-random Gmail names that screamed backup account. The subject line was just my name. No punctuation. No manipulation wrapped in politeness this time. I don't recognize you anymore. I read it once. Didn't feel the urge to respond. That was new. She went on about how cold I'd become, how relationships take compromise, how I'd blindsided her. She said she was willing to admit fault if I was. She said she missed our life. Not me. Our life. The apartment. The routines. The ease. At the bottom, almost as an afterthought, she added, "I'm behind on rent. Just so you know." There it was. I closed the email. That weekend, Emily invited me to meet her friends. Low-key dinner at someone's place. Nothing fancy. I almost said no out of habit, bracing for the pressure, the expectations, the subtle tests. Then I remembered, Emily wasn't Alyssa. So I went. No one sized me up. No one asked what I did for a living like it was a ranking system. We talked about music, travel, dumb work stories. At one point, someone spilled wine, and instead of snapping or blaming anyone, everyone just laughed and cleaned it up. On the drive home, Emily asked, "You okay?" You got quiet. I told her the truth. I'm realizing how tense I used to be all the time. She nodded. Yeah, that happens when you stop surviving. Meanwhile, Alyssa was spiraling. Mutual friends started reaching out. Carefully worded messages asking if I was open to talking. I wasn't. I told them I wished her well and left it at that. Some understood. Some didn't. The ones who didn't had always benefited from her version of events anyway. The final straw came when she tagged me in a vague post about financial abuse. That's when I blocked her everywhere. No announcement. No rebuttal. Just silence. It felt less like winning and more like closing a door that had been slamming in the wind for years. And this time, it stayed shut. About a month after everything blew up, I ran into one of Alyssa's friends at a bar downtown. I was there with coworkers, standing near the back, nursing a drink and laughing about something completely unrelated to my old life. That's when I felt someone hovering just a little too close. I turned, and there she was, Megan, one of the girls from the Tulum trip. The one who'd posted ride or die under Alyssa's photos while quietly Venmo requesting everyone for shared expenses. She looked uncomfortable, guilty even. Hey, she said, can I talk to you for a sec? I shrugged. Sure. She didn't waste time. Alyssa's not doing great. I took a sip. I figured. Megan exhaled. She keeps saying she didn't think you'd actually leave. Like ever. That didn't surprise me. Alyssa had built her confidence on certainty. Certainty that I'd always stay. Certainty that threats worked. Certainty that love meant endurance, not choice. She thought you were just mad, Megan continued. That you'd cool off. She told everyone you'd cave once things got hard for her. I nodded slowly. That sounds right. Megan hesitated. She didn't really have a backup plan. None of us realized how much you were covering until the trip fell apart. She kept saying it was temporary. That you'd fix it. There it was again. Fix it. I didn't feel angry hearing it. Just detached. Like listening to a story about someone I used to know. She's been telling people you changed, Megan said quietly. That you got cold. That money mattered more to you than she did. I met her eyes. She told me to leave. Megan looked down. Yeah, she mentioned that part, eventually. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Then she said, for what it's worth, I don't think you're the bad guy. I don't need to be the good one either, I replied. When I walked back to my table, I realized something important. Alyssa's version of events was starting to crack. Not because I defended myself, but because reality doesn't stay buried forever. Later that night, Emily held my hand across the table and said, you look lighter. I was. For the first time, the past felt like something behind me, not something waiting to pull me back. The last thing Alyssa tried was nostalgia. It came in the form of a package left at my door one Tuesday evening. No return address, but I knew immediately. Inside was a shoebox wrapped in the kind of tissue paper she used for sentimental things. Photos, ticket stubs, a hoodie I'd lost 2 winters ago. On top, a folded note in her handwriting. I found these while cleaning. Thought you'd want them. I still don't understand how we got here. I sat on the floor for a long time with that box open in front of me. Not sad, not angry, just observant. It felt like looking through someone else's memories. A couple that existed, sure, but one that only worked because one person kept shrinking to keep it alive. I put the hoodie in the donation pile. The photos back in the box. Then I threw the box away. That same week, Emily officially became my girlfriend. No big speech. No defining the relationship talk that felt like a negotiation. We were cooking dinner together, and she said, so, we're doing this, right? I said yes. That was it. What surprised me most wasn't how easy it felt. It was how quiet my mind was. No background calculation. No bracing for conflict. No wondering if I was about to be punished for having an opinion. Alyssa didn't take the silence well. She tried one last time through a mutual friend, asking if I'd at least tell her why. I told them the truth. She already knew. I didn't know her a better explanation than the one she'd given me herself. If you don't like it, then leave. Those words had finally finished echoing. I realized then that Alyssa hadn't lost me because I was cruel or sudden or cold. She lost me because she was certain I wouldn't go anywhere. And certainty like that kills respect. I went to bed that night, next to someone who didn't see love as leverage. That was the real ending. A few months later, I heard the final update secondhand. Alyssa had moved out of the apartment she couldn't afford alone. She was back at her parents' place, temporarily. The girls' trip group chat had gone quiet. One of the friends stopped talking to her altogether after a money-related blow-up. Another quietly apologized to me over DM for taking sides without knowing the whole story. I didn't respond. Because here's the thing no one tells you when you finally leave. Closure doesn't always come from a conversation. Sometimes it comes from watching someone live with the consequences of the words they were so confident saying. If you don't like it, then leave. She said it because she thought I was trapped. Because I'd always stayed. Because I'd always softened first, paid first, apologized first. She didn't realize that ultimatums only work when the other person is afraid of losing you more than they're afraid of losing themselves. I wasn't anymore. Emily and I moved in together slowly. Intentionally. Separate finances. Clear boundaries. Mutual respect. The boring, healthy stuff Alyssa used to mock. No tests. No threats. No power plays disguised as confidence. One night, months later, Emily asked me, do you ever miss her? I thought about it honestly before answering. No, I said. I miss who I was before I started shrinking. She nodded like she understood exactly what I meant. The irony is, Alyssa got exactly what she asked for. I left. I didn't fight it. I didn't come back. I didn't rescue her from the fallout. And I didn't regret it for a second. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is take someone at their word and walk away without looking back.